The reason you're struggling to get leaner is because you don't understand the muscle formula. That's exactly what I'm going to break down for you today. You know, we all understand that if we want to have a nice physique, want to be attractive, we need to shred body fat, reveal those abs, and build some muscle. We want to have muscle definition. And the only way to build muscle is from lifting weights. And that's why you go to the gym. You might be going 5-6 times per week, but unfortunately, your workouts are not paying off. And that's because you don't understand the science behind building muscle. Nothing is random in life, guys. Everything has a science behind it. So that is building muscle. Take fire, for example. If you want to make fire, you need to combine 3 elements together at the right ratio. You need something that burns, like wood or gasoline. You need a spark, and you also need oxygen. And when you combine those 3 elements at the right ratio, you're going to create fire. Building muscle is no different. You need to combine the right elements together. And that's it. That's how you're going to build muscle. Right? Maybe right now your strategy is you just go to the gym as many times as possible. I spend 1, 2, 3 hours in the gym, try to hit every single machine and workout, but this is not a strategy. And that's your problem. Problem is not like you lacking discipline or motivation. You're just lacking knowledge. And until you don't apply, and until you don't approach those workouts with that intention of building muscle, your efforts will not pay off. Fortunately for you, I created this formula today. And by the way, it's the exact same way I approach my workouts, and that's what I teach to my clients inside my community. And if you want something more personalized for you, it's going to be a link at the end of the video where you can apply to work one-on-one with me. And let's break down the formula right now. MM, that's how I call it, stands for maximum muscle. And it is as follows. This is what you need to take in consideration. Number of reps multiplied by time under tension, multiplied by range of motion, multiplied by weight, multiplied by proximity to failure, divided by rest time. Okay? Of course, you might be wondering, well, what does it mean TUT and RM? Slow down. I'm going to explain to you right now. Number of reps, it's basically how many times you're performing the movements. So that's 1 rep, 2 reps, 3 reps. Okay? Time under tension. Well, let's understand that for every movement, there are 3 phases. You have when you contract, when you hold, and when you extend. And each phase has a duration. So the total duration of the movement is what I call time under tension. Range of motion. When you perform a movement, you need to fully contract and fully extend. That's how you're going to be covering 100% of the range. If you slow here, well, that's a half rep. Okay, you don't want that. Weight, it's basically how heavy you're lifting. And PTF is proximity to failure, like how close are you to failure, okay? And if you want to maxing out this formula, well, we need to have, here it's number of rep divided by number of rep plus rep in reserve. So you need to minimize this one, okay, rep in reserve. And if you go to total failure, there's not gonna be any rep in reserve. So this number is going to be 0. And if this number is 0, where you have n rep divided by n rep, which is going to be 1. So that's your goal, basically. You want this ratio to be as close as possible to 1. And for that, you need to have few rep in reserve as possible. Ideally, you want to have this one 0. Okay, so this is how you build muscle. This is the science behind it. You just need to pick certain weight, do enough rep, so it brings you to failure without compromising your form while slowing down the movements and taking enough rest time. That's it. If you approach your workout and every single set with that intention, you're gonna see drastic change with your physique. and also the way you feel. You know, I just trained with one of my clients yesterday. He came to visit me in Bali, and we focus on slowing down the movement, reaching to failure, and just set one. He told me, like, bro, I've been doing things wrong all of this time. So it's not just about doing more volume. It's about approaching your workout with more intensity. Quality is more important than quantity, guys, and intensity is everything for every set. But here's the hack. There's a sweet spot for everything, okay? Because you cannot just be like, oh, I'm gonna just slow down the movement as slow as possible and do as many reps as possible and try to lift as heavy as possible. No. We need to respect some conditions, guys. And because there is one factor we need to take in consideration, and that's two actually. There is fatigue, muscle fatigue, and also time efficiency. Let's take number of reps. Let's say you're gonna be like, oh, I'm just gonna do as many reps as possible. Well, if you do too many reps, you're gonna have more muscle fatigue kicking in, and that's gonna decrease your workout performance. And also, naturally, you need to compensate with a lower weight if you wanna reach failure. So it's not time efficient to do as many reps as possible. So for that, we need to respect the condition of number of reps. That just comes from experience, by the way. And I just realized that between 8 to 12 reps is a sweet spot. If you try to do less than 8, well, to reach failure, you will need like a high weight, okay? And that might compromise your form and elevate the risk of injury. Okay, so number of reps, anywhere between 8 to 12 reps. Time under tension. Well, you can be indefinitely slowing down the movement, right? Because first of all, it's not time efficient. And also there's gonna be like a lot of muscle fatigue. So if you slow down too much, well, you won't be able to do as many reps as you should be doing. So the sweet spot is TUT. It's more like having a tempo. 3, 2, 2. 3, 2, 2 tempo, where what does it mean? When you contract, that's like 2 seconds. You hold for 2 and you release for 3. The phase where you actually have to extend your muscle and release it, that's where you want to slow down. So 3 seconds for that phase, the sweet spot. 2 seconds when you contract, 2 seconds when you hold. So that gives you about 3, 5, 6, 7, like let's say 8 seconds for every single rep. So that's the sweet spot. Don't do too less because you're not gonna keep enough tension in your muscle. Range of motion, of course, you want this one to max out. You wanna be covering 100% of the range, okay? Because the more you contract, the more you extend, the more fibers you're going to engage, and that's exactly how you're gonna break down those fibers. And if you have the right diet, the right sleep, you're gonna grow muscle. So range of motion, this one always 100%. No half rep, please. Weight, well, you cannot just lift as heavy as possible because if you pick a weight that's too heavy, you might be compromising on your form, okay? And naturally you will have to compensate with a lower rep. So it's not ideal. That's why, again, I told you pick a weight so you can go to failure between 8 to 12 reps. Okay, and the last one you want to consider is rest time. We already covered this one. You want to be as close as possible to failure, ideally no rep in reserve. So you have this ratio at 1. Rest time. What we need to consider here is once you complete the first set, you need to give your muscle enough time to recover before starting set number 2. So if you're not resting enough, okay, it's gonna be hard for you to perform at the same intensity the second rep. And if you rest too much, well, of course, that's not ideal, right? Because your muscle are going to be too much recover and you're gonna release the tension. You just wanna maintain pressure on your muscle. So there's a sweet spot also for resting time. And it's anywhere between 60 to 90 seconds. That's for isolation movements. So think about like those little muscle, triceps, biceps, abs. 60, 90 seconds is enough. And for bigger movement like a shoulder press or incline press, for example, anywhere between 150 to 180 seconds for compound movements. Okay? So of course you have the formula right there. Those are all of the elements you need to take in consideration when you work out. But also, we need to meet those conditions based on everything I explained so far. So condition for number of reps, 8, 12 reps, time under tension, have a tempo, 3, 2, 2. Range of motion, always 100%. Be as close as possible to failure. And pick a weight heavy enough so you always stay within the rep range without compromising your form and slowing down the movement. And take sufficient rest. Don't do too much, don't do too low. 60, 90 seconds for isolation movements, 150, 180 seconds for compound movements. And that's the theory. Practically, question that comes a lot is, well, how do I know what is my failure point? Because that's the whole point of this formula. It's we want to reach failure without compromising the form and, executing the movement properly. But how do you know what is the weight that you need to select and eventually go to failure? And that's gonna come from calibrating yourself. When we start the program if someone joined me, for example, and I create the workout plan and they have to follow it. Well, the first 2 weeks, I do what I call calibration. Okay, and that's essential because we need to have a foundation to build on. To start with, we need to understand what is your failure point. So there's a workout program. Let's say for Monday, we're focusing on upper body. There's a chest workout, like incline bench press. And we just need to test. I just tell the guy, hey, you need to pick a weight and just test yourself. Knowing that we want to stay between 8 to 12 reps, just pick a weight and see how it goes. If you do more than 12 reps, well, that means it was light. You need to increase the weight. If you do less than 8 reps, it means that it's too heavy. You need to decrease the weight. And you test for like few sets the first week. Second week, you're going to have like a better understanding. And week 3, you're going to be, oh, that is my failure point. Maybe I can do 10 reps at 200 pounds with bench press. Perfect. That's the foundation you want to build on. So that's how you identify your failure point. You use the first 2 weeks as a calibration. Understand the mechanic of the movements. Understand, try to develop the mind-muscle connection because that's key. And finding your failure points because that's essential. Once you identify your failure points, well, we're going to have a foundation to work with because over time, guess what? Your failure point will increase because you will have muscle adaptation. And that's why week after week, you want to be applying what's called progressive overload. So you need to keep challenging yourself, either by adding more reps or more weight. So you can keep maximum muscle. Okay, that's the formula, guys. It's not hard to understand. It's very logic when you have an understanding of how muscle growth should happen. And also remember at the beginning of the workout or the video, I was mentioning that a lot of you guys just go and try to hit as many exercises as possible. What the choice of the exercises are important. And you also want to be time efficient with your workouts. So keeping that framework in mind, all you need is 4 days per week where you work out. You focus on compound movements, and every session, anywhere between 5 to 6 exercises is enough. Every single exercise is 3 set max, while respecting those conditions and having that framework in mind. That's it, guys. Like, that's the secret. Anyone who join me, like, I realized within the first week they've been working out wrong all of this time. They waste too much time. The efforts are not paying off because they don't understand what are the factors that impact muscle growth and how to make your set more effective. You just need to understand those variables. Again, watch again the video so you have a better understanding. And next time you go to the gym, I want you to keep that in mind and be like, it's not just about doing more sessions, more volume, or like try to lift heavy. No, be more intentional with your sets. You're gonna see a big difference. So that's it for today. And don't forget, if you want something one-on-one to you with more accountability, something personalized, just apply with the link in the bio of this video. Connect with me and I'll reach out to see if you're a good fit. In the meantime, I see you next time.